Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay. We got Jacob in Wisconsin here to talk some Packers football. Day 2 of mandatory mini camp. We got a bunch of stuff to cover tonight. Going to be a loaded show. Appreciate y'all making us a part of your evening. If you would, hit that like button. Feel free to subscribe. Share it with a friend. If you ain't got a friend, there's some people in here that'll be your friends. I just wouldn't recommend it, okay? We'll just leave it at that. But we're live on YouTube, X, Rumble, Facebook, MySpace, the whole 9 yards. So how we doing, gents? We good? Everything good today?
Are we live on our AOL dial-up stream too, Clayton?
That is correct.
All right.
Yes, just got to make sure you got a couple of those extra discs. You remember that back in the day? You get those in the mail all the time?
Yeah, man. Fire up the CD burner.
Oh, yeah. I used to pretend like our computer at home was fast enough to do anything on the internet. You know what I mean? It's just like, just stack those discs up all over the desk, Jacob. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, just got some online stuff here in case we need it, knowing damn well the computer wasn't going to handle it.
Right. I mean, I remember when I first got into the interwebs, I did nothing bad, and all I did was go on LimeWire and Napster, and I got the CD books to show y'all. Oh, bro, I used to have.
So you're the guy who ruined the music industry. God,
no, it was Metallica.
I love it.
I love it.
Yeah, hey man, listen. For those of you who don't know about the CD, but yeah, Bates knows Napster. Man, Napster's wild. That's the wild, wild west of stealing music back in there. I never did it, of course, but I knew people that did. I knew folks that did. So. All right, let's get into it, boys. We got OTAs day 2 before we jump into the offensive side of the ball. Y'all got anything? Anything at all?
Can I just say one thing real quick?
Absolutely not. Let's get into OTAs. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. You good?
I haven't been on in a few days, and my grandfather called me before we went live, and he goes, what's going on? I haven't seen you on there in a few days. And I said, yeah, sorry. Work's been crazy. And he goes, well, it's just better when Clayton, you, Tim, and Julio are all together. And I said, what? And he goes, yeah, everybody's better when they're together. I said, you mean Emilio? And he went, yeah, Julio, Emilio, the young kid. I said, Jesus.
Close enough. Close. Same thing, right?
So his name now better be Julio when he comes in here.
You'll hear me slip up and say Amigo all the time because I had a buddy of mine that got to know pretty well, and we worked construction together, and his name was Jorge, but we called him Amigo. And he is no longer in the States. You could imagine why. He had about 3 trips into the country to do some work, and I don't think he's getting back in this time. So shout out to Jorge Montanez down there in Torreon, Mexico. He's probably not watching. I'd be surprised if he has electricity right now. Good man, though. Very good man. Hard worker. Had to bail him out of jail a few times, but boy, oh boy, hungover or not, that man he would lay some concrete, and he could set some forms, and he would climb the steepest, most dangerous rebar stack you ever had to assemble. There's no chill whatsoever. So shout out, Jorge. I know you're not listening, but I'll talk to you anyway. So let's get into it, boys. Mandatory minicamp. I'm just going to let this loop a couple times because this is a thing of beauty. Mecole Hardman been turning some heads here. And listen, it's mandatory minicamp. It's OTAs. This is mostly routes on air. Here was a little team activity, but Jordan Love just heaving that thing up there. And Mecole Hardman, I don't know, just about 5 steps beyond the defense there. I want to talk a little about Mecole. I want to get your all's take on it because this is something that when we signed him, I feel like what Goody's idea was, hey, look, let's kind of cover our bases because we know we're going to be down Christian Watson next year. And if the draft doesn't fall just right, let's get us somebody in here who can stretch the defense a little bit with some speed. He's also a guy that can run some of your gadget plays. He's also a special teamer. There's just a lot to like about him. I am kind of starting to wonder now, though, is Mecole Hardman going to be one of these guys that we look up at the end of the year. You guys notice on the tweet here, I said Jordan Love to Mecole Hardman, putting off Brett Favre to Andre Rison vibes circa 1996. If you guys go back in time and look at that era, Andre Rison was one of those free agent signings. It wasn't like teams were just stumbling over themselves to sign him. You know what I mean? Tim, you probably remember this back in the day. It was, if I remember correctly, it was just kind of like, hey, let's bring this dude in. He had gotten into some trouble. I don't know if there was any legal trouble, but it just seemed like more times than not, he was in the news a little bit, or, you know, I don't know all the details there. I do remember, probably shouldn't even speak on this, his house did get burned down by a girlfriend that will remain nameless because she is now, you know, unfortunately passed away. That's all I'm pointing out is, like, he had some baggage with him, right? Mecole doesn't have any of that.
Nope.
That's to my knowledge.
No,
But-
just those 3 Super Bowl rings that he's got to carry with him. You know,
and the Super Bowl winning catch. You remember that, Tim? Like,
Yep.
you know, corn dog, that play.
Yep,
that they ran.
absolutely.
So I don't know, man. Am I wrong there? Just thinking, what if this is one of those free agent signings that we look up and go, boy, was there anybody that played a bigger role for, you know, in terms of bang for their buck than Mecole Hardman? You know,
Yep. I like Ed Madden's comment here. Looks like somebody forgot to tell Mecole he's only there for special teams.
bingo.
That
There you
was-
go.
That was kind of the vibe that we were thinking initially, like, oh, you know, good free agent pickup, you know, bring another experienced guy to camp. Yeah, I don't know. I'm starting to catch the vibe that Mecole Hardman is probably going to play his way onto this team and probably play a bigger role than any of us really anticipated. So I'm all for it, man. He's you know, old enough to know better, young enough to still do it, still enjoy it, right? So you got some veteran leadership, some championship caliber football experience in your wide receiver room. I think it's a good thing.
Completely agree. What do you think, Jacob?
I am becoming a Mecole Hardman fan very quickly. The Packers released a few videos, one of them with about a 15-minute interview with the gentleman. Hey, look at there. And it's just the way he conducts himself. He just seems like a Packer type guy, a Green Bay type guy.
Mhm.
Like Tim said, he's not just some wide-eyed rookie. You know what I mean? He's been the key component to winning a Super Bowl in the last play of a game. He has 3 rings. He knows what it's like to have the pressure cooker be turned on. He's played with an elite quarterback. He's played with an elite coach. He's played in an elite organization. He understands what it takes to be at that level. And I think, like the comment said, even myself, I thought when they brought him in, hey, he's maybe a special teams guy, and that'll be it. And I think that very clearly he's showing that he could be very well in the mix, especially with Christian Watson being out. I mean, that speed is no joke. You could see it today.
Yeah. Ed Madden said he could be a guy who makes plays even with limited opportunities. I completely agree there. And I will say this, the one thing that stood out to me immediately following the draft was it was both Savion and Matthew Golden were mentioning players that reached out to him. And I want to say Matthew Golden's a certain number of the Packers wide receivers didn't reach out to him. Some did. Mecole Hardman reached out to both Savion and Jaden Reed, and they both mentioned that. So it was like, even though it's just a 1-year deal, pretty much a minimum veteran contract that he signed, he immediately kind of took the whole team vibe on. You know, here he was after the mandatory minicamp today. Matt Schneiden tweeted this video out. They asked him a couple questions to see what Mecole Hardman had to say.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie, I didn't know I was gonna be the oldest in them. I'm getting old, man. Year 7 is getting crazy. But I think just being able to get there and the work that was put in to get there. I think just being able to relay that to the guys, and, you know, especially when times get hard, or, you know, you're not feeling so well, or, you know, you're hurting or whatever, you know, just kind of being have that experience and let them know, like, hey, you know, it's this part of it. This where, you know, things happen. This where you build that, and you know, this is going to get better in the long run. And if it's hard now, it's easier, you know, later on. So just be able to, you know, have that experience and actually have gotten to the end game and having to win it, you know. I think that goes a long way, especially for the younger guys to see that. And I'm glad I can, you know, give that experience to them and let them know, like, what it took and, you know, what it's going to take.
Year 7.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I didn't.
So I don't know, man. I kind of like his attitude. I like
I love
his
it.
aura,
Yeah.
if you will. You know.
You know, you mentioned him reaching out to some of the younger receivers when he got here. You know, even just being like you said, a veteran on a 1-year kind of kind of tryout deal or prove it deal, whatever you want to call it. A new opportunity kind of towards the middle to later stages of your career. Hopefully a guy like McCole Hardman plays well into his 30s. I think he's made just as much, if not maybe even a little bigger effort to connect with the community here in Green Bay too. He was very outspoken, reaching out to fans directly, looking for the bait shop and the best fishing spots on the Fox River. And we're still supposed to go bowling after mini camp and everything is all
that's right,
all said and done, so like I think it speaks to his character, and he's a total pro, right? And whether he's here for one season or 2 or 3 more or whatever it ends up being, he's going to make an effort to connect to the Packers, and not just the team but the town. And I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll tell you something else that stood out the other day. Edgerrin Cooper posted on his Instagram stories. I don't know if y'all seen it. He was at a local dirt track watching racing.
Yep.
I was like, God, this dude is on the right team.
That's so good.
Love it. Love it. So,
yeah.
again,
And Daryl, just real quick on Mecole, he said, correct me if I'm wrong, but McCole Hardman ran a 4.33 at the combine, which again is pretty blazing. However, Daryl did go on to say that's 3 seconds faster than Watson. Not quite, but I get where you're trying to go. I think he said 0.3 of a second, but
yeah, 3/10.
That was also 6 seasons ago, 7.
Well,
7
yeah,
seasons ago.
Yeah, but I do think that he possibly could. I saw somebody else. Yep, right there. Thank you, Ed Madden, saying that hey, Watson, Golden, Hardman. I mean, I even think that Savion, for the way he's built, that dude is a blazing fast guy for the size he has. Look at guys like Marshawn Lloyd that's coming out of the backfield, bro. I'm telling you, we'd be a couple speed demons, man.
Yeah, dude, all those guys 4.340, right? Bo Melton 4.340. So, and will Bo be on the team? I got to be honest with you guys. I'm already tired of hearing and talking about Bo. We'll hit on it again here in a little bit because it was a part of all the coverage. People were taking this Bo Melton playing cornerback thing. God, they're taking it to the extreme. And it's like, I mean, to the point where people are insinuating with their tweets and in the mainstream sports media that this is the guy that's going to replace Jair Alexander. What the hell are you talking about? How can you be so bad at your job that you think because they were shorthanded at cornerback and they cross-trained him in a mandatory mini camp at cornerback that somehow he is going to be the number one? How bad do you have to be at covering sports to try to convince yourself that's what the Packers are thinking?
I think it's just clickbait. Those guys just know that that's the clickiest click you can get today. So that's what they do.
Bro,
we had Savion Williams in a red jersey, and we had to hear about, are they trying him at quarterback? It's like
there was Milwaukee guys, ESPN Milwaukee guys talking about this is the answer for Jair being. What do you? Anyway.
Well, what's weird is he did a post, practice interview, and they literally asked him about it. And he goes, "Oh, it's not a big deal. Like they just, they told me they wanted me to try me out." He goes, "If it works, it works. I'm never gonna."
He said it's more like a feel thing right now.
Yeah, he said, "I'm a receiver. There's no transition or anything like that." And I think it was more funny. They even asked, like, "Hey, does your brother know you're playing quarterback?" And he's like, "Nah, because I didn't even tell him because I'm not. Like they literally just put me in a couple drills, guys. Everybody take a step back. Cheese curds make my stomach hurt."
Yo.
You know what, Clay? It's like you say, right? The loudest guy in the room typically has the least to say, right? And a lot of times in the media, it's about being first and being loud, not necessarily accurate,
Yeah, and I will say there were several people that did stand up to that whole Gutekunst isn't serious about winning a championship. He doesn't care about winning a championship. There were several people in the media that bit back on that, and I'm very appreciative that they did, because when you hear someone who is a Packer fan and local sports top personality saying stuff like that, I don't think they realize how bad it embarrasses the fan base. It's just sometimes you scroll through social media and you'll see somebody say something that's totally off the wall, and you go and you click on, okay, got like 30 followers. It's just a fan, okay, he's just giving his opinion. But when you see someone who gets paid for a living to speak daily about the Packers and they're just throwing up on their desk just the most ignorant nonsense, it's just crazy, man. It's crazy to me. So I really appreciate, like I said, that there were other sports You got Tauscher went in pretty hard. Like, yeah, I seen that. And that's just, it was good.
You know what sucks is it makes me think of that's what Bears podcasts do. That's what Bears media does. Like, we don't need to sink down into that sludge.
Right.
No.
And it's
look where we are in the year, right? It's slow news time, right? You're reaching for stuff. You're reading into things. This is the time of year when they're going to try stuff like that, right? It really shouldn't be super surprising at all that they're experimenting right now,
Yep. And again, time will tell how everything shakes out. To me, I still feel pretty confident that, hey, Bo is unfortunately on the outside looking in. But as we see every year, we have these conversations in June and July. And the next thing you know, somebody goes on IR for 4 weeks, and that person that we thought was going to get the axe is on the roster. And in some cases, playing a significant role. I feel like Malik Heath has passed Bo on the depth chart. And we talked about that going into this offseason after looking at the advanced metrics and all that. And then lo and behold, your mandatory minicamp, even before you get to training camp, they're checking Bo out and his versatility at the cornerback position. So it's kind of like it feels like he is on the outside looking. And I love Bo as a person. Like, you're not going to find a better human being than Bo Melton. It's just it's a room that's pretty full, Jacob. But
do you think what's more frustrating, at least for me, was I listened to Ryan's pod, I think it was maybe 2 days ago, and he's said this continuously and called it pretty much almost at 100% that when the Packers decide to do this, when they start taking a player that they drafted or signed and have had on the team, they have a designated position and they say, hey, but we're going to try you out at this other position. That usually follows by them getting released or something happening,
or practice squad, right?
or practice squad. And I think that's just something to think about, because I think about Tariq Carpenter's, those types of players where it's like, hey, we don't know where you fit. We're going to try you here. We're going to try you here. Yeah. I hate saying it, but it sounds like it was more likely that it's a last ditch effort to say, like, do we have anything we can salvage here before we decide to let you go? But
because you'd like to keep Bo, you'd like to keep Bo for special teams reasons as well, right? And if a backup corner is a way for him to be on the team, I think he's just a victim of a crowded receiver room right now. Two fresh draft picks coming in. You've got a lot of second-year guys, third-year guys. It's highly competitive. So I think there's some truth to that statement. I really do.
Yeah. And I think in many cases, no matter what sport it is, if a player is mentioned that he can do several things, it typically means he can't do one thing great. It kind of is what it is. And I thought Bo, especially in 2023, showed a lot of promise. Last year, he took a step back. There's no doubt about it. But if that's a guy, though, that's rotating on and off of the practice squad all year as you battle injuries at the wide receiver position, man, it's a pretty good spot to be in, that you can have a guy with a little bit of experience in game and someone who obviously knows the playbook. He knows the offense. He's got blazing speed. And now they're cross-training him to potentially play corner in a pinch, that type of thing. I kind of feel like that's a positive to have. H.E. Solder hit the nail on the head. Troy Brown, he's the first person I thought of when I seen this Solder. But Troy Brown, a lot more of a contributor, in the wide receiver room for the Patriots, is what he's talking about. Young Tom Brady, that was one of kind of his go-to guys, right? I don't think Bo is quite elevated to – in Matt LaFleur's offense, what Troy Brown was. And it's not necessarily a knock at Bo as much as it is, you got some dogs in that receiver room. I know we may not have a true number one, but boy, oh boy, do we have a room full of twos, man. And that can be valuable when you're looking to spread the ball around and keep the defense on their heels. I'll tell you somebody who is starting to impress already, and it's early, is Jordan Love. We showed a couple clips there. We've seen the bomb to Mecole Hardman. Obviously, the other day we were talking about some other things that were going on. Matt LaFleur today said, Matt LaFleur on Jordan Love's offseason, quote, "It's been as good as it could have been." So it sounds like Coach LaFleur is really, really happy with the work that Jordan Love has put in. Now, will Coach get up there at the podium and go, "Man, let me tell you guys, Jordan been slacking"? He was. It's not going to happen, right? But I also don't think he would just offer up information if he didn't believe it. I don't think Matt's that kind of guy. Matt's got to the point in his tenure at Green Bay, you could tell you don't want to be at the podium. So he darn sure ain't just going to and say extra stuff he doesn't need to say. I kind of see that too with Jordan. It feels a little different. And again, we've just been through OTAs, and now obviously mandatory mini camp is in day 2. But it just feels like Jordan, this is the year that Brett really broke out too. This is the year that Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl, albeit his numbers weren't as good as the year before, but he still was good enough for them to win a Super Bowl. That defense kind of carried on that year, as they had the number one defense in the league in 2010. Jordan, I don't know, man. I've got these programs I showed you guys on the show last night. Anybody who was tuned in live last night, Mandy picked me up all kinds of old the season programs, season preview magazines, right? 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, and I want to say maybe it was 98, but going through it last night, the 92 one, Brett wasn't even on the roster, right? And you've seen it. Well, when I say wasn't on the roster, they traded for him in 92, right? Am I thinking right, or was it 93?
Drafted in 91, traded in 93.
92.
So 93 was when he started.
Cincinnati game, right? 93? Okay.
In this program, he wasn't even in the team picture in Green Bay. Now, he wasn't in the team picture in Atlanta because he was hungover. We know that story. But he wasn't.
We're gonna give him some.
He wasn't even in the team picture in Green Bay because he hadn't been traded for yet. They had already, taken the photo and everything. But it was cool going through that program, and it's all about Mike Holmgren and his staff, seeing a young Andy Reid, seeing John Gruden looked like he was literally 9 years old. It was hilarious. He looks just this skinny little kid, Mooch in there.
Andy Reid, right?
Yeah, Andy Reid. Yeah, he
his mustache.
He was not near as big, obviously, as he is today. But, boy, you could see with that mustache, that facial hair, just his demeanor, like that dude can smoke some ribs. You just know it. Like he's gonna get to where he is today. There's no doubt about it.
Do y'all remember that clip where I can't remember what Brett did, but Andy Reid was basically like, please just don't go out and do that. Or Holmgren said something to Favre. Favre goes out, does the exact opposite, of course. Not the one that you're all thinking of, but some other one. And he comes back and Andy Reid walks up and he goes, why'd you do that? And he goes, blame it on me. And he goes, I called it. I called the play. And Brett's face, he just walks behind him and goes, oh,
Laughs.
You're going to get in trouble.
Yeah. Let's see here if I can find this.
What
Somebody
a staff that was, right?
Yeah, dude.
I mean, Andy Reid, Mike Holmgren. We had Steve Mariucci.
Mooch.
We had John Gruden. I mean, good grief.
Y'all gonna love this.
Taking
boys.
me down memory lane, man.
I got to show you guys this.
I think there was even more, Tim. I think there was a few others we're forgetting.
Oh, I'm sure there are.
Somebody mentioned
Edgar Bennett was on our coaching staff, I believe, back then too.
Somebody mentioned a comment in here about Andy Reid as a kid. You guys see that comment? It just got posted in here. Pull that up on the screen for me. I want to give credit to whoever it was. Yeah. Chuck Jagger says, look up Andy Reid as a 7-year-old. I don't know if this is when he was 7, but this is the punt, pass, and kick competition. Y'all ready for this?
Man.
See if you can pick out Andy Reid here.
I'm gonna guess he's the guy with the ball.
Yeah.
He's bigger than the guy that's officiating there.
Oh my gosh!
You can tell he didn't check his birth certificate. I think he was coaching in Green Bay 2 years later. Look at the size of this guy. Unbelievable.
Is that real?
No, that's real, dude. That was a pump pass and kick competition. Surprisingly, he did win. He was an underdog, but he won that competition. Yeah, that's Andy Reid as a kid. Unbelievable, man. We'll hold on to that one for a little bit. Also, we got this one we added too. I picked that up on Twitter earlier. Mr. Caleb Williams in a couple of years. Gonna be working at Whack-Donald's if you guys ever watch the Chappelle show. So, anyway, I'm excited about Jordan Love. Am I wrong there though, guys? To me, it feels like he's ready to take that next step. And what I was getting at with the program, boy, we got way off track talking Andy Reid as a kid and everything else. That program in 92, Brett Favre non-existent. 93, he's on the cover, right? 94, he's on the cover. Or no, 94 was Reggie White on the cover. 95, Brett back on the cover. So, like, you've kind of gone through the growing pains a little bit. I think this is the year that we look up at Jordan and go, if he stays healthy, of course, that goes for any player across the league. I think we're going to look up and go, boys, we got us a franchise quarterback. Because we felt like that at the end of 2023. All of us did. Last year, I don't want to say you take a step back because of the injuries, but at the end of the day, man, I really do think this is going to be the year that he steps out.
I think it's got to be, right? It has to be this year if you're Jordan Love, right? You had your setbacks. You did what we do here at Quarterback University, right? You sat behind a starter for a couple of years. The torch was passed, and then You know, you had a hot first year as a starter, and then you got banged up a little bit. Last year didn't go how we wanted. Yeah, this year, oh yeah, it's got to be this year for Jordan. It does, and you know, it doesn't mean he has to be like off the charts in every single statistical category.
Right.
It just means play some damn good ball for us this year, and let's go get it done. And I agree, Clayton. I think he's ready, and I think he's put the work in over the offseason. You know, I think we shouldn't read too much into Matt's comments about, you know, it was kind of a quick response about Jordan's offseason. You know, it went as well as it could have gone, but I mean, you can read into that however you want. I know what I've seen just based on what he's shared with offseason workouts and training regiment, you know, things like that. So I think Jordan's ready, and it's too early in the year to really start, you know, trying to pick apart too much. But I think by the time we roll into the preseason, we're going to feel pretty good coming out of camp here with Jordan.
United Bates says Wolf, talking about Ron Wolf, while an assistant to the general manager of the New York Jets, had intended to take Favre in the 91 draft, but Favre was taken by the Falcons on the previous pick. Obviously, you guys know he was taken in the second round, and then Ron Wolf went to Green Bay the next year and trades a first-round pick for him. Also in that program, I'm going to snap a picture of it tonight and tweet it out, is a picture of Ron Wolf with Elliott Wolf, who looked like one of those smaller kids behind Andy Reid just a second ago. And it's like, for those of you who don't know, Elliott Wolf worked for the Packers for a long time. He's now the general manager for the New England Patriots. Just a really cool picture of both of them together when he first got to Green Bay. And Ron Wolf had some birth control pants on in that picture. I'm just telling you. One of those that had the long strap across the front and everything. Almost looked like they were, I don't know if cashmere is the right word or not. They looked like polyester pants or something, bro. It looked like they would burn a man up there on a training camp morning. So, but it was cool to see kind of a walk down memory lane with all these characters that are still in the league. And obviously Ron Wolf, just a class act. That dude was a real deal, man. But one of the things that's going to help Jordan Love obviously take the next step is whether or not Matthew Golden gets off to a hot start. And you can see here Matt Schneidman with the tweet, just a little curl route, but you kind of see the quickness, the burst with Matthew Golden. If Matthew Golden pops right out of the gate, and then we get Christian Watson back late October, early November, boy, oh boy, is this going to be a fun season, man. If Matthew Golden, if they hit on this pick, and again, I have no reason to think they won't. It doesn't mean that he has to blow up year one, but I think we're going to look back in 3 years and go, yep, that was a legitimate first-round wide receiver, because the players that have been mentioned that Goody was interested in taking in the first round at the wide receiver position were people like Brandon Ayuk, people like Justin Jefferson, right? Yep. These are the guys that, you know, people act like Justin Jefferson was like a top 3 pick. That was not the case. He went later in the first round. So the fact that Goody was so high on him as well as Brandon Ayuk, it tells me that when he's got a first-round grade on a player, they're a hit. You know, there was rumors that Christian Watson, he had a first-round grade on Christian Watson. Now, obviously, they take him in the second round. That's Christian Watson, other than the injuries, has been a hit, in my opinion. My God, when he's on the field, I mean, he really changes the dynamic of the offense. But I don't know. What do you guys think about the role that Matthew Golden could play in Jordan Love taking that next step this year?
Well, I mean, me personally, I think that he with McCole Hardman might be the 2 wide receivers that have surprised me so far, just in how well it seems like they've adapted. And like Jordan Love, you know, he's said some stuff about McCole, mostly positive, but in also saying, like, you know, his first couple reps, his first couple days, you could see maybe that he had to adjust maybe to the speed of the game or just to how we run things here. But all of a sudden that he's shown why he's a first-round receiver. Obviously, the speed there, love being able to throw that deep ball with him is something that I'm very excited about. And I don't know why, just him wearing 22, I love it. And I know people, for whatever reason, feel some type of way about it. I want him to come out. I would be happy. Again, I believe it was the over-under was set around like 750 or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was.
So I would be completely over the moon if he was even around the 600 range. I think that's realistic with how deep this wide receiver room is. And if he's one more puzzle piece, you know, I just think that it's that much harder to figure out who you're going to guard in this Packers offense.
Yeah, I agree. Marco Day says, hi, everyone, laying in bed in, I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Is it Ennis or Enos, you think?
I think it's Ennis, probably.
Ennis, Ireland. Right now, listening to you fellas, can't wait to see what the Pack has on paper, they should be better. Appreciate you listening from Ireland, Mark. That's where my family migrated over from way back in the 1600s, ran it back to Ireland. Obviously, with the last name Bailey, you guys get the gist there, right?
We got to add Mark to the ticker, our international ticker here. We've got Marlboro Jack in Argentina. We got Paul in Shenzhen, China. We've got Marco Day in Ireland. And
there it is. Yeah, so that's Mark. Yeah, we got him up there, don't we? Yep.
So
Nice.
just
Okay.
hear that now.
Cool.
Pretty cool that we got somebody in China
Nice.
listening to this stupid program. It's absolutely awesome. So, appreciate you guys and gals supporting the channel. Another thing here I just wanted to show real quick was another shot that Ryan Wood tweeted out at by Ryan Wood over on X. A little chemistry between Jordan and Matthew Golden already. You can see a little back shoulder throw here. Bang, right? That's a pretty darn good sign right there, working on the back shoulder. And this is something I feel like Matthew Golden is going to be good at. He's got strong hands. He's a hands catcher. You never see him catch with his body unless he's in the – only a couple clips I've seen in the back of the end zone in college where he tried to secure it as he kept his feet in bounds. But you can see hands catcher. He's got excellent body control. I mean, there were so many times that he slowed the pace of his route, recognized the ball was underthrown, laid hands, create separation at the end, and will make a diving catch or a leaping catch, falling on his back. He's got great body control. And this is the type of stuff you want to see early on, is a little bit of that back shoulder chemistry, because that's something that Romeo Doubs and Jordan obviously had in 2023.
Yeah.
Didn't see it as much last year, but
What do you think, Tim or Clay, about I can't remember who posted. I wish I could give him credit, but it was something about the fact that Matthew Golden has had to, in the last few years, or last year specifically, was it Quinn Ewers thrown with him that had kind of a duck arm, that he had to learn how to play balls differently than a quarterback that'd be hitting you in stride. Like, he almost had to anticipate that exactly right here. Thank you, Soder. That he basically had to learn how to play the game on a different level, whereas that every pass he didn't expect it to be in the right position. He had to basically read every pass coming in live like he's a catcher in the MLB and adjust specifically to make that catch. What do you think about that? I think, and I don't want to give this as a backhanded slight to Jordan Love, but that's maybe been a knock on him sometimes, is that he doesn't get enough air underneath the balls, or he can leave guys when they're wide open that have to hold up maybe on their route a little bit. Do you think that that's a positive for Golden or a positive for Love, or do you think it doesn't matter?
I think it's one of the reasons why his numbers weren't as good in college. Quinn Ewers was dealing with an arm injury there at the end. Now, for those of you who don't know, Matthew Golden transferred over to Texas, as well as Isaiah Bond did from Alabama. And the whole goal was Isaiah Bond was supposed to be the number one receiver, right? He was the dude that was supposed to be the guy. And what ended up happening was, by the end of last season, Matthew Golden became that guy. And I want to say he had 900 yards receiving, I believe, 9 touchdowns, I think. And the big thing is, Zacchaeus says here, y'all worry about Matthew Golden's lack of production his 3 years in college. I'm seeing a lot of talk surrounding that. I'm not at all. And I'll tell you why. The biggest games is when he played his best football. Okay, here's what you should do tonight, Zacchaeus, because if you just look at the numbers and you just hear people kind of talk about it, you can be a little bit misled. Go and watch the SEC championship from last year, okay? And watch Matthew Golden. Now, listen, they were down. Texas was down, but watch Matthew. It's like Quinn Ewers said, the hell with it. I'm just throwing a Golden. And he went off. Same thing, very similar to, I want to say it was Barron Sorrell had a pretty good game in that game as well in the SEC championship. But that's the type of stuff you look for as a scout. You're looking for someone who plays their best football at the largest states. And then if you want to try to throw in the negative of, okay, why were his numbers so bad, Tim? Isaiah Bond coming from Bama, that was the reason he didn't get as many looks early. And to me, it adds way more value to Matthew Golden that he took that from him, right?
Yep.
And again, the goal, as Greg Cosell says, this isn't something I thought of. This is Greg Cosell, the GOAT of breaking down film and projecting players to the next level. You want to draft players who are ascending into the league. I'll give you an example of the perfect example of an ascending player was Edgerrin Cooper. Played his best football his last year in college, and you look at the tape and go, I think he can get better. That's what they got in Matthew Golden. So the numbers, they're down. I agree. They don't look as good as like a Tet McMillan or somebody, but Tet McMillan's scouting report was saying he kind of backed off last year a little bit. You look at the numbers and go, how the heck do you come up with that? But again, people are watching the tape. People are watching the mannerisms. They're watching everything, coming through with a fine-tooth comb. I think with Matthew Golden, it's a couple of things. Tim, he plays his best ball in the biggest games, and he's an ascending player as he comes into the league. Doesn't mean he's going to be a hit. He could be a flop just like any of these draft picks across the entire league. But that's what you're looking for to try to catch that lightning in a bottle, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm with you. I'm not concerned at all. I mean, this would have been great. This is not a knock on Zacharias, but this would have been great pre-draft talk, type of question, right? Look, as we broke down his numbers in the college tape. But now, he's a Green Bay Packer. He's here. I'm interested in what's in front of him. I'm not thinking about college ball anymore. You're in the NFL. So it's about having a good camp. It's about becoming an asset and a valued member of this offense. And, being another weapon for Jay Love. I think, at the top of this topic here, we talked about, Matt Golden and how, he may help Jordan Love take that step, having a weapon like this, a dynamic guy that, another guy that you can throw that back shoulder, shot to along the sideline. And, you watch Golden, man, he's a yak master too when he wants to be, man. He can spin out of that break and just cut loose, add another, 15, 20 yards to a play in the blink of an eye. Like Clayton was saying, such good body control and very compressed route runner, doesn't waste a lot of, energy or motion on nonsense in his route. Like you said, Clay, good hands catcher, not a body catcher. All these things point to, he should continue to ascend, and Jordan should probably take that step this year. And we haven't even talked about Savion Williams and the other 400 receivers that Jordan has at his disposal this year. So, I'm not overly concerned about the quote-unquote lack of production from Golden in college, because I'm with you, Clay. I think if you look, he's a guy who stepped up in big moments and in big games, caught a lot of overthrown and underthrown balls during his time there. So I think he's going to be pretty successful here in the NFL, but we do have to be patient, and guys develop at their own rate. So if he's not, Mr. Lights Out right away, I don't think anyone should be panicking. We gotta let him go ahead and develop.
Yeah. RJ Stewart in the chat, man. Good to see you. I don't think I've ever seen you in here before. Appreciate you tuning in. He says Golden transferred from Houston, not Bama. We didn't say he transferred from Bama. That was Isaiah Bond. Golden transferred from Houston. And then someone had mentioned right here, Ed Madden said Golden also played with the guy the Packers signed recently at Houston, so there's always been other options at receiver when Golden was in college. If you guys will remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat here, guys, but I'm almost positive when Golden signed his letter of intent or, on signing day and enrolled at Houston, before he signed, it was Savion Williams hosted him for his visit. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then Savion ended up transferring to TCU 1 or 2 years later. And then, of course, Matthew Golden played at Houston a couple of years, and he transfers over to Texas. So, again, he signs at Houston. He outplays that spot and then that's a huge promotion to go from Houston to Texas. So he ascended from Houston to Texas, and then while he was at Texas, he ascended from the number 2 receiver to the number 1 receiver, playing his best ball at the end in the SEC championship. It's just ascension the whole way through the progression there. So, and you guys know Isaiah Bond, his draft stock tanked. The Packers had him in for a 30 visit. His draft stock tanked because of off the field stuff, rumors, what have you. Whether it was true or not, I'm not here to try to determine that. But his stock kind of, and that's a perfect example too. Goody going in, we need a receiver. All right, we really like Matthew Golden. Well, his teammate Isaiah Bond was more highly touted than Matthew Golden. Let's take a look at both of them, right? Mm-hmm. And what you have is one player was up here, and then after he finished in Texas, he was down here. The other one was down here in Houston, and after he finished in Texas, he's up here. Ascending player as opposed to a descending player. So that's stuff I'm telling you, scouts really, really look at, and front office executives really dive into a lot.
Man.
So.
It's crazy in the chat. There's a lot of connections with the Texas, just in general stats. Let's HE sort of saying, how good of a recruiter is the Houston wide receiver coach? Apparently, Deadfish is saying Sam Brown transferred from Houston to Miami. I mean, that's a lot of talent there in that state, I tell you.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, man. What did we see a little while back was Georgia was the big, and we still got a couple, 2 or 3 Georgia guys we signed this year, drafted and signed this year, right? Undrafted free agent and drafted. They were on that Georgia program. It seems like they're on to Texas a little bit now because obviously you got Barron Sorrell, you got Matthew Golden. They looked at Isaiah Bond. They're really liking something down there in Texas as well. Maybe it's that there might as well be professional football players because they're used to getting paid even when they wasn't supposed to. They could, you know what I mean? They know how to handle money. Texas has been paying these prospects forever. So if you guys don't know about that, Nick Saban called out Steve Sarkisian a few years ago about how much money they were paying. He was at a booth. He was meeting with boosters like, y'all better up your money because Texas is paying these kids. So that's why they ended up with so many players that got drafted too. So
is Sam Brown the guy that's been randomly flashing that people are talking about as well? Another wide receiver? Have you been hearing this?
I don't know anything about that.
I swear that it's chat. Let me know if I'm crazy. I thought there was somebody named Brown that was another wide receiver that we signed recently that is supposedly flashing like crazy to the point where he's got the media, you know.
Immediately made me think of Michael Scott on the what was it, Diversity Day or whatever, when he said, I'm Mr. Brown. I'm not falling for that. God, that show, boy. There's no way
Sam Brown was on that team across the river from you there, Jacob, over there in Minnesota. Thought he was a Viking.
No, Sam Brown Jr. No, that's what they're saying. He was Golden's teammate apparently too.
Oh, interesting.
Nice. Good stuff, man.
I'm telling you, that'd be a sleeper for the practice squad at least, I'd hope.
Yeah, there you go. All right, guys, that's going to do it for hour 1. For those of you listening on the pod, we will see you on the other side for hour 2, where we're going to hit on a little offensive line talk. And it sounds like somebody might be trying to take that left tackle spot. We'll hit on an hour 2. We appreciate y'all.